G'day guys, it's Mark here. Welcome back to the Iron Empire. In this episode, back to the absolute slugfest, which is the WB wannabe Sandman Ute. Let's see what's been going on. Okay, so kicking off this week's episode, I can't even remember where we got to in the last episode on the Sandman. It's been so bloody long. But this time around, we are starting to basically reassemble. I'm pretty sure the last time around we were doing the blackouts on the door frames, which you see me working on right here, including maybe some blackouts around the dash as well. And so basically now it's just up to reassembly. So putting these brand new door rubbers on. The old rubbers were pretty good anyway, but I don't know, the car was starting to become sort of too good to put much secondhand stuff on there. I had to be really fussy and sort of pick my way through this job because, you know, it's like once something comes better than you're expecting, you can't then put an old shitty door rubber on a brand new painted door. So anyway, we're putting these on there. It's a bit of a pain in the ass job because if you get it even one sort of grommet wrong, you have to pull them all out again, and then the grommets stick in the door and they pull out of the rubbers, and it's a pain in the ass job. So luckily, being a ute, there was only two doors, and it wasn't too bad. So now we continue on with some reassembly of the front end. We want to start putting some lights in, making this thing look like an actual ute again. I want to make it look like a car for a change. So much of this episode, and probably the previous one as well, was just time-consuming stuff, which seems like we get nowhere, but it's all necessary things. Bear with me, guys. We'll get this ute done. All right, so we are back down on this Sandman. We're going to get stuck into trying to get this passenger side, this driver's side, all cleaned up so I can start reassembly. I did have a little bit of a go last week on the other side, painstakingly clean up these windows. Most of the time was spent trying to rip off all the tint, which of course doesn't come off in one sheet, comes off in little pieces. And then once that's all cleaned up, I can then put a new Bailey channel in. I can then put a new door rubber on, and I'm going to start assembling these doors so they look nice and clean and finished. I've also got to get a few more little trims. I need to get a pinch weld for here, scuff plates. I'm not sure if I have them or not. Just trying to reassemble this car. So close yet so far. Let's get stuck into it. Okay guys, so where are we at with window tint? Hit me in the comments below with what you think needs window tint. Generally speaking, I don't like window tint on anything prior to 1980. For some reason, classic cars, particularly chrome bumper cars, should have clear windows. Yet Andrea was absolutely adamant she needed window tint on her UC Tirana, and I gotta admit, it looks really, really good. But with this car, it's definitely gonna stay with clear windows. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Finicky things. All right, guys, so I've got the glass all cleaned up now, and I've got to begin assembly of this door. Now, I didn't pull this apart, so I don't know how it went. It's obviously not super tricky, but it is kind of tricky when you got to find all the parts before you put them on. So luckily we have the HX over there in the workshop. I've been able to rate a few little bolts and stuff just to make everything go back together the way it should. I'm about to sort of assemble all these door latches and stuff like that. Everything's a little bit seized up, so I've tried to lube it all up, so hopefully it sort of runs smoothly. And then once we get through that, I can then start putting some Bailey channel on. Now, unfortunately, this is one of the most boring parts of building a car, and it seems like you're getting nowhere sometimes. Sometimes you are getting nowhere because it's such a slow, painful process of learning how everything goes. I never pulled this thing apart, and even if I did, it would have been years ago if I did. And even if I did, I would have forgotten anyway, because this has been a couple-year project, unfortunately, like all of them. So I sort of have to learn how this all goes as it goes together, but we're finding homes for most things, so hopefully we'll make progress. Right guys, so I'm up to putting the door belts on this car. The door belts is basically the weather strip, or the window rubber that basically slides on the outside of the glass to stop all the water getting inside your door jamb, inside your door itself cavity. Now these are a reproduction rubber because of course the factory ones are all brittle and broken and knackered, but as I'm finding with nearly all reproduction parts, and most people would say this anyway, that they never fit right. Now, giving this every opportunity to fit right, I've swapped right to left. They are labelled, but believe it or not, I'm actually using the right on the left and left on the right because it's actually closer to fitting. It's closer to fitting the opposite way than the correct way. And trust me guys, I've been through this that painstakingly, and there is no way that this is going to fit. What I actually had to do is alter the length of this rubber, and I also had to notch out the end in order to fit around the window channel. Now it's going to be very hard for me to show you that on camera. You just have to believe me. Spend the time, there's no way it fits. Little alteration on this one guys, nothing major, just nipped a couple mil off the end. I notched that end out because I like it to fit better, and now sweet. Okay, so absolutely pumped with the finish on these door cards. I got that rubber on, which of course needed alteration, a slight nip at the end, and I had to drill out all the holes, which is a bit fiddly because with the new skin on the door card, you couldn't see where the holes were meant to be. It was really hard to transfer that across, but I got it all done, and I'm super happy with how neat these things look. They look freaking amazing. Now I haven't got any little grommets to pop this door on properly, and I need to cut the holes in order to put the window winder and also the door latch mechanism. But for now I just want to pop it on and see what it looks like, and man, it looks so good. I just realised there's some armrests as well, so I might try and find a good original set of those. If not, I'll just get some repos. But overall, man, freaking hell, this is looking unreal. Okay, so today's tip is wiring. Now, I'm rewiring the SANDMAN here. We've got a factory engine loom coming through the firewall. Now, I am not a wiring guru at all. I hate it, in fact. I've just been cleaning this up with some thinners on a rag. That is the best way to clean up old wiring looms. And you can see all the colors of the rainbow very clearly. And most of this is all factory ends, except there's a few that have been adapted. Now, my tip for today is when rewiring a car, irrelevant if it's marked or not. Unfortunately, this car was not marked when it was stripped down, so I don't know where the wires go. But what will be a telltale sign of where these wires go is once you lay the wires out roughly where they should be, you should be able to tell by, there'll always be a bit of an indicator of what goes where. This side of the loom was clearly for the lights because it's got a pair of switches here, it's got a pair of plugs here, and then if you're across to the other side, there's a pair of plugs the same. So it's making a mess. So it's pretty clear that that is for the light. So this wiring loom goes along this guard and around here, which means that down here where it V's off, it goes around to here. That section of the loom has to be for the engine. It can't go anywhere else because there's nothing else in the car that needs wiring. So that's going across the firewall, and this is the engine bay loom here. Now, I don't know where all this stuff goes. I have a vague idea once I get close, but the way we're going to find that out is once we plug that in, you'll start to pull the cables around to certain items that need power, and it'll start to make sense. So my tip is do not ever cut or replace any wiring in any loom, even if it's been butchered. You want to keep it all on there the way it come off the car, because chances are it's going to make it to the item that needs power. Because it was working before, it's got to work again, provided it worked before. So once you sort of start getting to where you got to go, you'll understand where it's got to be, and then you can then change any wiring that may be a bit shabby, shitty connections, or reroute anything. But generally speaking, this will always be a telltale sign of exactly where things have to go. And it's just a process of elimination, work your way through. And chances are you will get 99% of the way there. And like I said, I am an absolute rookie when it comes to wiring, but with a bit of patience and a bit of common sense, you will get most of the job done yourself. All right, so here you'll see me having a fair dinkum crack at getting this hood lining installed all on my own. Just pretty much fumbled my way through it. It could have come out better, but it could have come out a hell of a lot worse. I'm pretty happy with the result, to be honest with you. But do not even bother trying to do this job without this particular spray adhesive. Do yourself a favor, go to an actual trim shop or somewhere that sells this stuff and buy this particular, because this is unbelievably grippy shit. Have a crack. Definitely doing something like a ute is going to be way easier than a sedan or wagon, but pretty happy we got the job done. All right, so that is it for this time around. Also off camera, I've been tinkering around with the fitment of the GDS dash, just making sure everything works, making sure there's a spot for every plug and all that sort of stuff. Once I can confirm that I've sort of made sense of most of it, I'll put the new dash fascia in. I can then start continuing on with the completion of that whole assembly there. I've got a brand new GDS wheel to go on, and this hood lining, let me tell you, it's not perfect, but it has come out so much better than I was anticipating. I was worried about doing this thing. I've been putting it off. This thing come in the mail, and I thought today's the day, let's get stuck into it. So turns out I didn't even need these little clips that I put along, because that, let me tell you, that glue is unbelievable. I mean, there was a section that I didn't quite get right, and I had to stretch this thing. I'm talking about over an inch to make it to the edge of the panel, let alone another ½ inch around. And as soon as that makes contact, it is gripped like shit to a blanket. It did not let go. So I'm absolutely stoked with the finish of this. There's a few baggy little spots in the corners slightly, but once that window rubber goes in, it'll push a bit of pressure and it should tighten that all up. Overall, super stoked with the outcome of this hood lining. And one more step, next up, windows got to go in. Once the glass goes in this car, she's looking like a real thing. All right, guys, so that is a compilation of a bunch of footage that I've been collecting over the last few months. I've just been doing dribs and drabs here. Haven't been able to string together like a big session on this car, unfortunately. And I am into the nitty gritty, boring shit, like just bolting up the whole front end. You know, I could spend hours bolting up. There's not much to see there. Obviously, the hood lining going in is a big one. The door cards, I've got to actually cut all those out, put the armrests on, but those sitting in place, I'm absolutely stoked on how that looks now. I do need, if someone is in Adelaide or South Australia, shout out. I am really after a rear windscreen. I had one for this car, and it actually got removed to go on the HQ build that we done a few years ago. And that thing had Perspex in it. I kept the Perspex. I don't know where the hell the Perspex has gone. I was going to use that as a template to cut out a new one. If anyone has some glass for a ute, give me a shout out. I would love to use it, even if it's just to trace out the template and cut a new bit of glass. I'd love that. So once that happens, that can go in. Front windscreen can go in. All the trims can go back on, and the all the door rubbers and all that sort of stuff, and this thing's going to actually start looking like a car again. So that's it for this time around. Just more chipping away, nothing too crazy going on there. Man, I wish there was more happening, but it's just a bit of a slugfest at the moment, and we'll get through it. So come back next time. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to keep up to date with all the videos we'll be putting out, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.